Mr Sims.
Thank you, Mr President. I also rise to speak on the supply bill and to indicate that the Greens will, of course, honour the convention in this place, and that is to support the supply bill's passage so that the government can continue with its work in terms of paying public servants, offering public services and the like. The recent Malinowskis government budget, indeed the first of this term, once again provides a missed opportunity in terms of providing meaningful cost of living relief to South Australians that are struggling. We know that South Australia is dealing with the worst cost of living crisis in generations, yet Labor's response really does not touch the sides, Mr President. One of the issues that we have been carefully examining is the government's response to public transport. And it is really telling that whilst over in Victoria, the state government there has provided free public transport for several months in the lead up to the end of financial year, and over in Tasmania, public transport has been made free. What has happened here in South Australia? Well, the Labor Party have increased public transport fares for the second year in a row. So this is a government that says that it's going to save people money, and we know some months ago now that Treasurer Tom Koutsantonis announced with great fanfare in the Adelaide Advertiser plans to freeze public transport increases for 3 months, saving South Australian commuters a measly 15 cents a trip. I mean, you know, the Milky Bars are on me today, Mr President. I mean, what a joke. What can you do with 15 cents a trip? It is really mean-spirited. It doesn't touch the sides. And what really adds insult to injury is the fact that after freezing these increases for just 3 months, Labor is now going to hike up public transport fares from the 1st of October. Indeed, a regular 28-day pass will increase from $1.1910 to $1.23, and so that's an additional $35 a year. And a $10 student pass, despite Labor saying that student public transport fares are only going to be $10, they will increase by 3%. So it's a slap in the face to South Australians that are doing it tough at the moment. In housing, the government is also falling well short of what's required. It announced a plan to upgrade nearly 300 vacant public houses, but this just doesn't go far enough, Mr President. Upgrading 300 vacant public homes is really not building the public housing at the scale that we need to deal with this housing crisis. And why is South Australia still the only state in the nation that doesn't have a dedicated homelessness advocacy organisation? Again, that's been overlooked within this budget, and that is really disappointing. Given the depth of the crisis we face in homelessness here in our state, we need to have a dedicated advocacy organisation to support those people. The state is also, Mr President, far too reliant on gambling and pokies revenue. We know last financial year, for the first time, South Australians lost $1 billion on the pokies. $1 billion. And I have dealt with many constituents over the years who have had their lives destroyed by pokies. And this is revenue that is really coming in off the backs of South Australians that are doing it tough. This financial year, the government will rake in nearly $500 million from pokies alone, an increase of $39 million. Is this really where the government wants to be getting their revenue from? Meanwhile, the Labor Party are still refusing to roll out a big bank levy, despite the fact that the last time the Honourable Tom Koutsantonis was Treasurer under the Weatherill government, there was a proposal for a bank levy. He abandoned it in the face of pressure from vested interests, including within this parliament. Well, the Greens have now offered to work with the government to make that a priority, and I'd encourage them to put that back on the agenda so that we can bring in more revenue from big corporations. It's also disappointing to see that the government is going to be giving $17.5 million to grants to the gas industry. Again, this is money being thrown at the fossil fuel industry, money that could be spent on housing, could be spent on public transport relief and the likes. And of course, $15 million for a business case to examine the failing AUKUS plan, and not to mention $26.8 million for the AUKUS skills workforce. Well, we know that AUKUS is a policy that ties our state and indeed our security interests to a deranged madman in the White House. I mean, I think most people in the South Australian community would be very concerned about seeing our foreign policy and our security interests being outsourced to the Trump administration, and all of the craziness and erratic positions that we see from that administration. So again, there's lots of missed opportunities. The other issue, of course, that the Honourable Ben Hood touched on is the Labor government's, and it's part of this budget, the Labor government's freeze on public sector appointment. Now, we know, of course, that this is a false economy, because when you cut jobs behind the scenes, or you put a freeze on recruitment for public servants behind the scenes, you do put more pressure on frontline workers. And this means more pressure is going to be applied to our nurses, to our doctors, to our AMBOs, to our teachers, to those that work in the homelessness sector. Because if you cut public servants behind the scenes, others on the front line will have to step up and pick up the slack. Now, why is Labor cutting public services and our public sector at a time when so many South Australians are struggling, and we should be putting more money into frontline service delivery? The Greens, during the recent election campaign, identified billions and billions of dollars of savings. We don't need to go down the cut and reduce spending approach of the Liberal opposition. We can actually draw in revenue from other sources. And so, you know, the Greens have offered, and we're willing to work with the government to identify alternative revenue to ensure that big corporations finally pay their fair share, so that we can invest money in the services that all South Australians need, so that they can lead good lives and reach their full potential in life. So with that, I conclude my remarks, but indicate, of course, that the Greens will continue to scrutinise the rollout of the government's budget commitments to ensure that they meet the expectations of the people of our state.